Hi, T.O.T. Carlson here, and today we're going back into the world of horror classics with one of the quintessential movies of that genre finally hitting the 4K format in the United States. The movie I'm talking about is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This was actually my first time seeing the film, but I know it has legendary status when it comes to horror fans, so when they put this out in a 4K Steelbook, I knew it was something that I had to get my hands on and finally see what all the fuss was about. I'm going to unbox this release, talk about the movie a little, share my opinion on the transfer, bonus features, and so forth, and give you my verdict. So here's the cover right here. I like how they basically use the original movie poster art. That's something I wish more studios did. Who will survive, and what will be left of them? America's most bizarre and brutal crimes. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What happened is true. Now the motion picture that's just as real. Exactly how true this story is debatable. There's the top of the backing card. Back of the backing card's got our movie description, photos, legalese, credits, list of bonus features. This package includes the movie on 4K Ultra High Def. It includes a Blu-ray disc of bonus features, but the Blu-ray disc does not have the film on it, just the bonus features. Under the backing card, pretty much just a plain white background. I wish they'd done anything else with that. I mean, anything's better than nothing. We pop this open, and one of the first things we get in here is actually a mini poster. Let's take a look and see how this looks. On this side, you got the original poster art, and that actually looks very cool. This might be going up in my YouTube background in the near future. And you got some alternate artwork on the back, and that's very nice. And then we have our two discs. Disc 1 is our feature film in 4K Ultra High Def. And disc 2 is our bonus Blu-ray disc. Underneath, we have a scene from one of the climactic moments of the film there. Certainly a disturbing moment. And I will read the description of the film from the backing card. Violent, confrontational, and shockingly realistic, director Tobe Hooper's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre terrified audiences in a way never thought possible when it was unleashed on a politically and socially tumultuous America in 1974. Facing a storm of controversy, censorship, and outcry throughout its troubled release, this masterpiece of horror has stood the test of time to become a landmark motion picture and cultural milestone. Now, for the first time, Dark Sky Films proudly presents its director-approved 4K restoration of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre on UHD, bringing all the scares and screams into terrifying focus and clarity, making for an immersive viewing experience you won't forget. Whether first-time viewer or long-time fan, this is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre as you've never seen or heard it before. So like I said, this was actually my first time seeing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I wanted to see what all the fuss was about, and I have to say, even though the movie only runs just over 80 minutes, I was certainly not disappointed. I like these movies that have just meager budgets, and they really make the crews do what's necessary on their limited budget, get creative, and make something that'll stand the test of time. I mean, major studios with great big budgets, they can just throw money at a movie and try to make it look all glossy and everything so that people will not notice the flaws. But you don't have that luxury when you're working on a shoestring budget. That's why I love movies like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because you get these filmmakers, cast and crew that do what they can with what little they have. This movie is actually pretty innovative in several ways. One of the first horror movies that really focused on having teenagers as its main cast and victims. It's also innovative for its music, or rather lack thereof. Music is not used very often throughout the film because our characters and, of course, the sounds of Leatherface's chainsaw pretty much are the soundtrack to an extent. And I also appreciate the fact this movie doesn't have like any name stars in it. These are not people that you know. And the characters themselves are actually pretty interesting. And when we start getting into Leatherface and his inner circle, we see some very grotesque, very disturbing individuals. And those kind of things just make the movie all the more interesting and memorable. Probably the biggest shock about the movie is it's really not that gory, despite how it was supposedly, banned and controversial for being overly violent. Very little of the actual acts of violence take place on screen. Most of the gore is actually implied rather than showed directly, but this proves to be a pretty effective technique. In some ways, I think that actually makes the movie more scary and effective. I mean, your opinion may vary, but personally, I think what they did here is absolutely fantastic. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, of course, spawned several sequels. I haven't seen any of those yet either, but I did read that there is a release of the second film out from Vinegar Syndrome, so I'll probably be picking that up in the near future and giving that a review as well. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a hard movie to review for the simple reason that it's always been a very gritty, grainy, grimy, disgusting-looking film. But despite that, I do have to say, for what it is, based on the source material, this 4K restoration looks very good. You do get pretty solid black levels as a result of the Dolby Vision, and then you also have, slightly more vibrant colors in the scenes that call for those. I do have to say, this is probably the most faithful that you can make this movie look while still being able to enhance it and make it look its absolute best. There is supposedly another remastered version of this coming out in Europe, and if I get my hands on that, I'll post some comments on that as well. I'm happy to say there are a ton of bonus features on here, including a brand new feature-length documentary from several critics and scholars and fans of the film, as well as filmmakers, and that's definitely worth a watch. There's also some older bonus features, including a conversation between director Tobe Hooper and fellow director William Friedkin, probably best known for directing The Exorcist. There's also some older deleted scenes and just a pretty wide assortment of featurettes, that some of which go back pretty far. There are some things from certain older releases that aren't including here, including some of the later released deleted scenes, but overall, I do have to say it is still a pretty comprehensive package, and I'm happy to see everything we've got here. Even the 4K disc itself has several commentary tracks that you'll want to listen to if you're a fan. Overall, even though it is a little pricey, I do have to give this release a very high recommendation. Any fan of classic horror and everything that this movie and what it did spawn will definitely want to get their hands on this release. Are you a fan of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? How do you feel about this horror classic and everything that followed in its wake? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more content. I'm always posting new videos, and be sure you give this one a like if you found it helpful. I'm Taylor T. Carlson. I'll see you next time.